Hello and welcome back to another week at DroneDJ. This is our first official episode for 2022 because last year we were covering a CES special. Given this is the first episode, we figured, hey, let's start with speculations on new drones this year. And Kirk, I've got your article here on what could we see from DJI in 2022. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so there was a leaked timeline beginning of December that kind of gave some clues into what possibly DJI could be coming up with. A lot of it was speculation. There was nothing really at all we can confirm about it. But a lot of it kind of made sense of new products that could be using a new update. We haven't seen maybe like a new edition coming up in a few times. So the first one up, of course, is the Mini 3, FPV Mini maybe as well, Inspire 3, RS3 or RSC3 gimbals and all this stuff kind of coming out possibly this year. So Mini 3 to me especially is exciting. I have a Mini, the first generation Mini, and I do enjoy flying it. It's been a lot of fun to fly so far, and it's kind of one of those really popular segments of the drone industry to get a sub 250 drone out there. Though we don't know exactly if it's going to be a Mini 3 or FPV Mini. I think that's still up in the air whether or not what this kind of leaked timeline looks at. But what are your thoughts?
I know a lot of our audience have asked about Mini 3 every time last year we had a DJI new product update. It's interesting because to me, I'm not sure why people are looking forward to Mini 3 just because Mini 2 is doing so well.
Yeah, it is a great product.
Yeah, for its class, and you got 4K videos. It's got great handling in windy conditions, and it's just personally that's actually my favorite drone, just because it's so easy to get it up in the air, and you don't have to worry about all the regulations and restrictions, or even airspace management. Right? I love it to use it even for scouting when we're not sure if that's a good place to fly. Just send it up and take a look right from the air, and it's super user friendly. So I'm not sure what DJI can do that's gonna be better than Mini 2.
Well, one thing they could be coming out, because we'll talk about the Nano, the Autel Nano later, but of course that's coming out, and that's having optional avoidance sensors on it, and that's something that the Mini doesn't have. So
Definitely, yeah.
that could be something that we could see added to the Mini 3, or maybe they come I don't think
It is sub 250.
Yeah,
I mean, how much you've
I mean, I've already
almost
ran the trees plenty of times.
They have to cut it somewhere, right? There's a balance somewhere. They have to cut some pieces at some other places to make the weight fit.
So yeah, I guess so. If it's not a Mini 3, I think this timeline does have an FPV Mini on the timeline as well. So maybe that's what that is.
I did see a lot of speculations on the FPV Mini. I have to say, I do look forward to that one. I mean, personally, I do look forward to that one.
If they come up with like a miniature version of their FPV drone that's less than 250 grams, I'm assuming if they're going to put Mini on the end of it, it's going to be less than 250. But that would be amazing. Like, I would get one 100%, even though I don't feel comfortable at all flying an FPV drone yet. I would totally still probably get one just to crash it into a tree real quick.
I have the original FPV. It's good user experience. We certainly had fun with it. But it's just for the purpose of FPV. You're expected to crash an FPV. Right, you're expected to, break an arm, break a propeller, or fix minor parts here and there, and it's just a little too pricey on the original FPV for me to crash it all the time and replacing parts or doing customization, doing something different. So I do enjoy using it, but I would have preferred if DJI releases a Mini version, I would have preferred the Mini version.
Yeah, so that's I think, what were the dates on the timeline? I think it's first half of this year, April.
I mean, if we look at typical DJI timelines, it's usually in spring, and then some kind of product update in the middle of the year, and then new drone towards the end of the year, typically November, right, beginning of November. That has been a historical record for DJI. So if we were to speculate, yeah, I would say maybe something at beginning of the year in the spring, and then a major drone towards the end of the year.
Yeah, the timeline has Mini 3 possibly in April, FPV Mini middle of 2022.
And then Inspire 3.
Yep, and then the Inspire 3 coming up this year as well. You use these type of drones way more than I do, so would Inspire 3 be something you would want this year?
But definitely, I mean, depending on the features, right? Depending on what goes on it. We have both the Inspire 1 and Inspire 2, and what we like from them is obviously the interchangeable lens. And you do get better footage from and better aircraft handling in general, and you have a second controller that you can do the pan. You can control the pan of the camera. So if you have complicated movements you're trying to track, then it's easier if you have a pilot and then a separate camera operator, right? So pilot can focus on flying, especially if you're flying downtown, in any downtown major city. It's challenging for the pilot to be flying and filming, controlling the camera all at the same time. So there's definitely still the need, especially it's more on the dual camera control system and interchangeable lens. And obviously Inspire 2 has been around for so long. DJI never made any update on the Inspire 2. So I would love to see an updated cinema drone from DJI. But the one thing we didn't talk about is Phantom 5. The
Yeah.
speculation on Phantom 5 has been around for a long time because Phantom 4 is also a really long-standing drone from DJI. We still have the Phantom 4 V2, and I still love using it because it has the landing gears. So if we're going to places, on the boat or where it's difficult to land, where I need to hand catch or hand launch, it's a lot easier because it has the landing gear and it has the dual GPS and dual IMU sensor on it. So it really makes flying a lot more reliable, especially if you need to fly inside any structure. It does perform better than the Mavic 2 Pro. So personally, I still love the Phantom 4. I would love to see a Phantom 5, especially if DJI can get an interchangeable camera on it.
Yeah, I'm pro more drones, all drones. So back to the Inspire 3, because I was looking into when I was writing this, I was looking into the Inspire 2 and what it all has and all that stuff, and trying to speculate what we would want to see from Inspire 3. And I'm like, what do you want? I mean, obviously more flight time is always wanted, there's better efficiency and everything, but what would be something that the Inspire 3 you would want to see an upgraded version that's worthy of an actual change of name, not just, I feel like if they just update the payload capacity or the flight time, why would you call that Inspire 3? Maybe a 2 plus or a 2 V2, whatever.
Maybe a Hasselblad camera.
Maybe a Hasselblad camera. Yeah,
Maybe
that would be definitely a whole new camera system up there. What is the current specs on the Inspire 2? Do you know?
It is 4K.
Okay.
It's 4/3. It's 4/3 for the camera sensor, and you can do interchangeable lens, which is pretty nice. I mean, we can use even a zoom lens on it. But Inspire 2 always had some reliability issues. There were reports of motor failures, and I actually saw a pilot dropping the Inspire 2 actually on our flight field when they were practicing, and it was because a battery update they didn't do on their Inspire 2 battery, and the flight controller thought the battery was actually out of juice while the battery still had 60-70% on it. And I literally saw the Inspire 2 crashing to pieces. So there were always some concerns on reliability from Inspire 2. And typically with DJI, you usually see them doing product updates, right? Either version 2 or plus or something. But there was nothing done really on the Inspire 2 for 4 years. So I love to see. I'm sure there are usability interface, different updates they can do on the Inspire 3. But personally, I love to see a Hasselblad camera on it.
Awesome. Yeah, that would definitely be something I'd be interested in seeing as well.
I know you mentioned some of the potential gimbal products from DJI as well. It just seems that DJI is really going along the line. Besides just the drones in the air, they do have the ground camera support, both for the prosumer market, right, with more of their DSLR camera gimbals, and then also the Pocket. I have both the Osmo Pocket 1 and
Hmm.
Pocket 2. I love it. Just point and shoot, especially documentary style, or if we're doing R&D and instead of writing down or voice recording every
Yeah.
spec or everything we do, I love just having the Osmo because it's stabilized and it's so small. I love just having it available and capturing, just video documenting everything we have.
Yeah, I could have definitely used something like that this week, at CES. Like of course, I had Derek Wise with me, who were doing, he had his whole camera system on a gimbal, and so we had a more professional setup. But like someone just quick, just pull it out and be like, "Yo, like, what is this you're talking about?" And do like quick videos of it all while they're talking would have been great to have the opportunity of.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you have a well lit environment from DJI Pocket 2, Osmo Pocket 2, it shoots really well. I mean, I don't
Hmm.
even have to do much editing on it, right? Especially if this is more documentary style. If you're just documenting things, it's actually great. It's totally watchable even without post production. So
Yeah.
that's definitely the lower end DJI gimbal cameras I'm a big fan of. I still have GoPro for car rigs and other things, and I couldn't replace that with the either the DJI or the other action cams out there.
Yeah, GoPro is I have those too. Like I like they're just so easy, even for like when I was with rocket launches, just set one up and hit record, and you just get like a time lapse of like you get that in time lapse mode, just go up a launch. It's like so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, really easy to set up.
Wrapping up on DJI products, what I really want to see for 2022 is seeing DJI figure out just exactly what they're doing with their flight control app.
Yeah,
Because
they
right
have so
now
many.
on the Mavic 3 is the DJI Fly app versus before on their prosumer, on their more of the commercial level drones on the Mavic 2 Pro or the Phantom. It's the DJI Go 4 app, which
Hmm.
has a lot more functions and controls. So I love to see, DJI coming up to clarify just exactly what are they doing with the Fly app on, Mavic 3 versus the same Fly app that's on the Mini or the Air 2S. Where do they draw the line, right? On entry level drones for beginners, so that it doesn't have too much information on the interface. It's nice and clean for someone just to start trying. And then there's a different version for more of the professional users, because you really need to dive deep into all the detailed system settings and the camera settings. Right now it's
Yeah,
just so confusing. It's the
yeah.
same
It's
app.
because even like because I'm my background is in like mobile app development, so I've taken classes on usability, all this stuff. Like, and it's like so irritating. Like, why are there so many different apps? Like, why is there like why can't it just be one app? Like, and then you go into a setting and be like, okay, this is what I'm flying. This is the like this is where I am in experience level. So just show me this stuff, or like I'm a professional, show me everything. Like, that's something that just makes sense in my mind rather than okay, I need my Fly app for this, I need my Go app for this, I need to make sure like, and I got to make sure all of them are updated instead of just having one app that updates and then
Well, if I look at my phone, I have so many DJI apps because Osmo Pocket,
yeah, especially
DJI's
that stuff
mobile
too. Like
devices, their other
yeah,
camera gimbal devices have their own apps too. It's like I've got so many DJI apps. Sometimes I don't even know which one is for which.
yeah, there's definitely a way you can consolidate them all into one or maybe two. Like I can see maybe like the gimbals having a different app, the drones having a different app. Like that makes sense. But like there's definitely a way you can consolidate them rather than a new app for each. I feel like
Some
each
kind of
product.
unity would be
Yeah.
nice, or just at least define, at least pick just pick a road, right? Pick an app,
Hmm.
pick a road, and let me know what that is for. That would just make my life so much simpler.
It would. Yeah.
And even from training is I can't just go design new learning material because they changed the app, they changed the interface, they changed where everything is on it, and then you have to train students differently, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Now moving on to the next one, which is Autel. So Autel Nano Light. Kirk, you actually got to see that at CES last week.
Yeah, we had we're gonna have a great interview with Maxwell Lee, their U.S. CEO and owner of robotics, Auto Robotics. So he's such a great guy, very enthusiastic about these products. And they, of course, their booth at CES was focused on all their products. They had the Evo there, the Light, the Nano. Of course, they had the Light Plus and Nano Plus. You know, technically, there's 4 products coming out, and then their Dragonfish, more enterprise stuff. I'm very excited for the Nano. I want to also try to fly the Light as well, but the Nano is definitely more up my alley. And it has the avoidance sensors on the front, back, and I believe the bottom as well. One thing because it kind of it looks like it looks like the DJI Mini, like a little bit, like it kind of has that same form factor and everything like that. Not much, but like the
I mean, with a
controller,
quadcopter that's under 250, how
yeah,
different can you be?
you can't, yeah, I guess you can't really change much. Like physics is gonna make things the way they are. Their controller, I have to hold their controller for these drones. Best controller I've held, like, so far, like, of all. Like, now, of course, I'm coming from a not as I haven't tried every controller. I'm sure it's definitely not the controller for professionals either, but it's very comfortable to hold. It's
That's
very
interesting. It looks like the same controller as on the original Evo and Evo 2.
yeah, it's a little bit different. They had like the kind of the large tablet version, and then they had their, like, the one that folds out from
Okay.
the bottom, like the handles fold out from the bottom, and, like,
Yeah.
none of them are bad. It's just this one I put in my hand, it just felt natural. Like, it just
Was it heavier? Did it feel heavier?
um a little bit heavier, but not noticeable. I wouldn't say
Because
it's
I've
definitely not
I've got to
something.
tell you, I hated the original Autel controller. That was one of my feedback when they gave me one for testing a couple of years ago, and one of my major feedback was I didn't like the controller because if I put a tablet on it, it's so top heavy. It just tilts because the
Yeah.
controller is so light.
This one, like, it's definitely, you're not gonna be fitting a tablet on that thing. Like, it's not, it doesn't
Right. It's
expand far enough for a
not
tablet.
meant for the
Maybe
yeah.
for a large smartphone, like maybe for a Galaxy Fold or something, you could probably fit on there. Um, but no, it's definitely meant for smartphones. Although it does have a screen in the middle, so you're not necessarily tied to having a smartphone. Although you're gonna have a very small screen, so you're
Yeah,
gonna
that
have to
was
watch.
that was one thing I did like even from the Autel Evo 2 and Evo 1 controllers. Yes, you can have the system info and the telemetry display all in that small screen in the middle. So if you fly without a phone, you don't have your video feed, but you still know what's happening with your drone.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, that was one thing I enjoyed a lot. Like, it just kind of like, and we talked about the controller for a while, and it kind of goes, yeah, like when we were looking at controllers, it was like gaming controllers have been out there for decades. Uh, People love certain ones, they hate certain ones. So why are we going to design a brand new controller? We're just going to take one that people love. I compared it to the Xbox 360 controller. If anyone you used to play the Xbox 360, feels almost exactly like that controller, in my opinion. So if that was a controller that you guys loved, you're gonna like this controller. So
Well, I'm definitely interested in trying the controller then, because I have to be honest, I didn't like the original controller. This does look a little different, and I didn't like the feel of the original controller. Just when it was in the hands, you just don't feel ergonomic. But
mhm.
if they actually took in the advice and improved the controller, that would be really nice.
Yeah, and so I also tried out their they also have the Dragonfish there, which is coming out, so which is definitely more enterprise related. They have that thing's just huge. Like, it's literally like the size of like a 13-inch iPad with then control sticks on the side.
And I
Uh
believe that one is a hybrid, right?
Yeah, so it does have, like, its fixed wings, and it can go vertical, and, like, he goes like the thing's very hard to crash. The way he explained it. We fly this thing a lot. The one that they had actually is an actual model that has been flying over um somewhere in Asia. I can't remember where it was. But he goes like, yeah, like if something like a gust of wind hits this thing, like the thing's very stable. It's not
Hmm.
going to, because like those tips of the wings will go vertical, and then it'll just start hovering, and you'll like
Right.
it'll be hard to crash that thing.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
it's a fixed wing model, so it's definitely more aerodynamic than a quadcopter, right?
yep.
Because quadcopter, the design of it is meant for stability, it's meant for short range, low altitude, it gives you, more camera stability, and you want to go slow on it versus the hybrid fixed point model. It's also more efficient once you get to altitude and you convert to the fixed point mode. It's a lot more efficient, so you can cover a longer range.
Yeah, they were showing up. They have all the different cameras you can put on it. They were showing it like it. The way they kept explaining it was it replaces a helicopter.
Hmm. And you can
For
put
these
different
things.
camera system on it. Yeah.
Yeah, like the new camera, the camera systems they have. Of course, the Dragonfish. There's two other models of the Dragonfish which are smaller. All those camera systems still work on this one, and all. The only thing that they came out with like a new one, I can't remember the specs on it, but it's one of their zoom cameras, and like this is it. It's too heavy for the other ones, so you have to fly on the larger version. Because like yeah, like maintenance on a helicopter is I've from my other experiences, my other on spaceflight, helicopters are very expensive to maintain. These are much cheaper, and two batteries in there, and you can kind of just pop them out, pump back in, fly it again. It's very quick and easy to set up and fly. So, yep,
Definitely interesting products from Autel. And
yeah.
also when you were chatting with Maxwell Lee, did he mention any other drones the company is working on?
I did. That was one of the questions I asked them because of course they came up they have the Light and the Light Plus. And the Light Plus it's pretty much very similar to the Evo 2 spec wise. Same sensor and camera system. Flight time's very similar, just cheaper. It doesn't, of course, some of the sensors doesn't have all the same sensors as the Evo 2 though, but like it's very similar to like it had the Mavic 2, and then you had the Air 2S that came out, and it's kind of like, okay, is this kind of like replacing your Evo 2? Like, is this what are we going to see? And he didn't really answer the question with what's coming out soon, but he did say like we're focusing on consumers. There's going to be more drones come out. I don't think he said Evo 3, but I think it was kind of like implied like, yeah, there's going to be we're going to be coming out with stuff, although didn't really give any timelines for it though. I wouldn't be surprised though if we see something this year, maybe later in the year.
Yeah, because Evo 2 also got released. I mean, they got an updated 6K and 8K version in 2020, but initially it was released a while ago. So definitely, I'm sure they're working on some newer drones besides just the Nano. I
Yep.
did like that Nano and the Light. I believe either Nano or both of them have the obstacle avoidance sensor. Although it's limited, but it's
Yeah.
definitely an improvement from Mini 2. And if Autel's got it, that's definitely one thing we know DJI is going to be working on
Yep.
if they're going to release a Mini 3, right?
Yeah. One thing we could see coming, because the Nano and the Light Plus uses the same CMOS sensor from the Evo 2, of course, but the regular Light, the Nano and Nano Plus uses this new the new like RYYB, I think, sensor. This new technology that's come out, and so that's might be maybe like an upgraded, to the Evo 2. We might see in the next version it's just switch from a regular CMOS sensor to this new type of sensor.
That'll be
Um,
interesting to see.
yep.
Um, Along the drone line, I mean, after covering DJI and Autel, naturally we would turn to Skydio, but we didn't see Skydio at CES, and they didn't release a new drone as we thought they would. Instead, they
Yeah.
just did an updated version for the Skydio 2, Skydio 2 Plus, right?
Yeah, they were supposed to be at CES, and as soon as I landed in Vegas, I got the email that they pulled out. And they came up with the Skydio 2 Plus, extended range, battery wise, as well as time wise for battery, and as well as just distance you can control it from range wise. I think it's 6 kilometers now, and just shy of 30 minutes on flight time. Other than that, same airframe. The only difference to the airframe is if you want to take advantage of the new range, you have to kind of flip up these vertical um, like kind of antenna on the front two arms. So it changes the profile a little bit. So you're not going to be it'd be harder to get through some, if you're doing inspections through it, it's going to be harder to get through some spots. But I think they look about maybe like 2-3 inches tall. So maybe more. But yeah, but they came out with some software stuff, which is kind of the cool thing. Keyframes. And then
Similar to the DJI, similar to DJI Quick Shots.
yes, more programmable. You can kind of, hey, I want this to start at this altitude, fly in this direction to this altitude, while tracking the camera in this way, and you can set this all up on their online, and you can repeat it, continue to do the same thing over and over again. So they're kind of replacing crane shots and other stuff that you might want to, if you're not a Hollywood film and have like massive cranes you can rent, you can recreate this stuff with your drone.
The one thing I found interesting just looking through Skydio 2 Plus, I was surprised at the original range of the Skydio 2, because if you look at the both DJI or Autel drones, you're looking at range from 5-6 kilometers and up. Some of the DJI drones can even do 7-8 kilometers as manufacturer specs. So I was surprised that Skydio 2 needed the range extender to reach just 6 kilometers. That seems a really short range.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, because I'm not using. I don't remember off the top of my head the specs they're using for how they connect to it. I don't believe they're doing 5G. No, I think the extension is 5G. I think that's what this kind of like this new hardware is. But yeah.
And I read some user reviews saying that the new range extender, it folds or it opens from the bottom and folds from the bottom, and it's a little in the way of the obstacle avoidance sensors.
Yeah, this definitely looks like this was like kind of like, we need to come up with something, and COVID has been a pain. What can we come up with, and what can we add, and not mess up our manufacturing too much, because it's very similar. It's like the airframes exactly the same as the 2, minus these range extenders that just look like they look like they took like, oh, we're not using this space, what can we add here? Oh, extenders, perfect. So
and with Skydio 2 has been in the market for a couple of years, you would think that the company would be working on newer drones. So I wouldn't be surprised if Skydio releases something else this year.
Yeah, it's been we were speculating on this last year, and it was kind of like, yeah, like they seem to have come up with a new Skydio 1 came out, and then 2 years later Skydio 2 came out, and now we're coming to the 2-year mark again, and we see the Skydio 2 Plus. So is this a COVID manufacturing issue that we've seen throughout all the other industries in the world with delays in production and other kind of R&D stuff, or is this a date? I don't know, like, is this like a precursor to a product later this year? Maybe they'll
Right.
maybe this is like, okay, well, we got delayed till end of this year, but we want to keep this 2-year time frame, so let's come up with something, and then this year we'll end of this year, maybe 3 years or something like that, we'll come up with the Skydio 3.
And with Autel also entering the micro drone world, would Skydio go that route as well? If both DJI and Autel have sub 250 drones,
Yeah,
right?
it
We saw
seems.
so much sales effort from Skydio over the holiday season on the discount for their Skydio 2. It seems like they're going the route where DJI went at the beginning, right? At least try to drive the mass public through consumer products, at least with brand awareness, and it definitely helps with their R&D with more user data in their database. So
Yeah, if they could come with a sub 250, small drone that has the similar autonomous features that the Skydio 2 has, at least you can, not maybe all of them, but like a good amount of the same features. Like, you're gonna have, I feel like a Skydio drone without obstacle avoidance is gonna be weird. Like, it's kind of like they're known for their kind of like AI flight stuff, so they're gonna have to come up, if they're gonna come up with one, they have to have that.
yeah.
So that might actually be pretty killer for the industry if that's what they come out with.
Well, I guess we shall find out. So
Yeah.
we've got the DJI lineup. We talked about Autel, especially with the Nano and Lite. We speculated for Skydio, and the last one I have on our list is the Sony Airpeak. I mean, supposedly it started shipping December 24th, and you saw it
Oh,
at the CES, right?
yeah, the drone that we just don't know a lot about, and it just keeps getting more confusing.
And then Sony, you would figure that their PR, their marketing, I mean, they've got such a big, they've got such a
Oh
big
yeah,
base.
and it was funny because, so their booth, they had one of the larger booths there. I think Samsung might have been the only one with a larger booth. But you kind of walk in and you can tell kind of where their focus is. They came out with a new, their big focus this year was like, hey, we're getting into the EV market. So that was kind of like what they were doing. And so that's where most of the attention was. And then you look over and you're just like, there's like 3 other spots, like the PlayStation. No one's there for the PlayStation because they didn't announce anything new. And then they have something for a new satellite they're launching, which was cool, but no one's there still either because no one cares. And then they have Airpeak, which is like just behind their EV stuff. So like no one kind of knew it was there. So
Unless you
they
really
walk
look.
in, they go into the new SUV EV, and then like they just leave. And there's like the Airpeak. There's 2 of them there. They have some people to talk to. I got to talk to their one of their pilots that they have for the Airpeak, and try to get some more information about it, which felt like confused us more about it. So the flight time for it, I have to pull up the quick stats on it. Where the flight time, it was
24 minutes and without load.
it was 22 minutes unloaded, 12 minutes fully loaded. Which when he said that, I'm like, only 12
Seems
minutes?
short. Yeah.
It seems pretty short.
Even for a cinematic drone, that still seems short.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe that's limited to battery. Is it limited to, like, I don't know what is it? Are they trying to push the payload too much maybe on it, like with the gimbal and with
With
so that,
today's technology, I mean, it shouldn't be challenging to get 20 minutes with the weight they claim
yeah,
this can take. So I'm not sure why. And there just hasn't been much official information from Sony in general. Even when you were down there talking to it was a pilot, it wasn't
they
a
had
product engineer, right? It was
no
an actual
VP of
rep.
product development,
Mhm.
no senior project manager. Like
Yeah, it
there
just
was
seems
just
so weird of
there was
this.
just PR reps
Yeah.
and this pilot. Now the pilot was great to talk to. Like of course he's going to be very pro the Airpeak. But definitely, I feel like this was a very great first iteration. Like this is, maybe it's not going to do great. Maybe they're going to be limited by their battery life. They're going to be a flight time, but it had a lot of great sensors on it for kind of doing kind of like he explained that it kind of like puts itself in this 3D world, so it kind of knows where it is and where to fly. I asked it if it has anything similar to quick shots or keyframes from Skydio, and he said no, but anything software related that we can add to it, there could be something we can add. They're going to take a lot of feedback from the users who get this, and that's what they're going to put into their next drone. So it seems like they're definitely in the drone space and they're staying, although the Airpeak S1 might not be the killer to Inspire or like any of the other type of industry
I was just
drones out there.
expecting to hear from Sony at least on the official level of, because
Mhm.
I mean when they first announced Airpeak, it was more than a year ago, right? There
Yeah,
was an official video announcement from Sony on their website, and there were PR releases everywhere. Now we're at the point when Airpeak came out, and we don't see any of that official, top down level
yeah.
of press release on the product. That's where it felt really weird.
In the press conference, I went there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the Sony press conference. They're gonna talk about the Airpeak. Like, it's gonna be great. We got like 5 seconds. It was in like the intro. Like they talked about all the products they're doing, and then the Airpeak came on screen, and he talked about we're doing this, and then on to the next part. Like it was, I can definitely see like they're not maybe extremely proud of the product. Maybe that's what like we're doing. We got to get something out first, and then maybe we'll come up with something better in the future. I mean, yeah, it was kind of weird how they handled the Airpeak so far.
Yeah, just in this drone market, if you're in it, you've got to release new products, especially at the beginning. If you're just entering the market, you've got to release new products at least every 1 to 2 years. And the
Mhm.
talk of Airpeak has already been a year and a half. So, well, I guess we'll see where this really goes for Sony.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, overall for 2022, I just feel like there's got to be more of these smart features
Yep.
on drones, right? We kind of settled on, overall airframe. Because at the beginning we had quadcopters, we had hexacopters, we had octocopters. I've still got the rebuilt coaxial design from us behind me. But now seems like we're settling on quadcopters, because at the beginning there was always the concern with redundancy, as what happens if one of the motors drop out and the quadcopter would just crash from the sky. But over the years, we're seeing actual reliability from the electronic propulsion system performance. So it seems like we're settling on quadcopters. We're settling on, standard flight time. We're looking at typically between 20 minutes to 40 minutes. Right,
Hmm.
that's your average medium. Obviously, enterprise ones, larger ones can go further, and then some of the heavier, cinematic ones fly for shorter just because they don't need to. But on regular, we're settling between 20 to 40 minutes. And same thing with the controllers. At the beginning, people tried different types of
Yeah.
controllers. Now we're settling more on the gaming, joystick based controllers. Smart features, obstacle avoidance is almost key. And then we have the smart flight features, either the quick shots, master shot, or like what Skydio has for keyframe. Even Autel has those intelligent flight modes. So those seem to be the core features on drones now. What I like to see more is real, integration. So we're starting to see 4G, 5G integration between drones to network. Now we love to see more of either smart camera integration, either integration with maybe better with your mobile devices, better with the command and control link. Those are the things we're really looking forward to seeing in 2022. So I guess we'll see as the year roll out what happens in 2022 with the spring coming up. We'll see what new drones ends up coming out.
Yeah, this is gonna be a interesting year to see kind of how this, as the industry kind of has matured and set up on, these are kind of like the standards that work and what we're going to be doing. What is going to be that next thing that's going to be the innovative thing that's going to stand out the companies of who's the best and who's slow. So
Well, next week we're also having a wrap up. Actually, not next week. Coming up this Sunday, we're also
yeah,
going to have a wrap up of CES from when Kirk was at CES 2022. We're going to go over some of the interviews we had with different company um, product developments, or in Autel's case was actually with the company owner. So we'll actually dive a little deeper into, after the conversation at CES, what are we expecting to see technology wise this year. Other than that, stay posted. We'll bring you the weekly updates from DroneDJ. And also this year, we're going to bring some exclusive interviews with a more in-depth topic of the drone industry. We'll see you next week.
see you.